Could you actually retire to Phuket? That's the question I've been asking myself over the last couple of weeks. Walking around the beaches, sitting in the coffee shops, and chatting to expats who've already made the move. I'm trying to get a feel for what daily life here would actually be like. Not the holiday version, but the real version. Phuket is one of the most famous places in Thailand. Millions of people come here every year, and most leave with a very specific idea of the island. Sun, sea, beautiful beaches, a bit of chaos in Patong, and plenty of tourists. But visiting somewhere for a week on holiday and actually living here in your 60s or 70s are two completely different things. So is Phuket actually a great place to retire, or is it simply too expensive, too busy, and too touristy? I've spent most of my time exploring four areas that many retirees consider: Karon Beach, Kata Beach, Patong and Kamala. So rather than trying to cover the whole island, I'm going to give you an honest look at the places I've actually explored and answer one simple question. Could Phuket realistically work as a place to retire? Let's get into it. Whether you arrive by plane or road, the first thing that strikes you about Phuket is just how international it feels. The airport is busy with direct flights from all over the world, and you hear Russian, German, Mandarin, Australian and British accents almost immediately. This isn't a sleepy Thai town. Phuket has been a global tourist destination for decades, and you feel that straight away. As you head towards the west coast beaches, you quickly realise Phuket is a much bigger island than most people expect. One minute you're driving through lush green countryside, and the next you're back amongst resorts, restaurants and busy roads. Compared with other places around Thailand, it's definitely busier. There's more traffic, more construction and a lot more going on. It doesn't have that slower, more traditional Thai pace that some retirement destinations are known for. But I'll be honest with you, I actually like the atmosphere. Yes, it's touristy, there's no getting away from that. But it's also beautiful in places, and it has an energy that makes it feel like somewhere people genuinely enjoy living, not just visiting. So with those first impressions out of the way, let's start with Karon Beach. This was one of the first places I properly explored, and I liked it more than I expected to. In fact, this is where I stayed while I was in Phuket, so I got a good feel for what the area was like just beyond passing through. The beach itself is wide, long and honestly quite impressive. It doesn't have the crowded feeling you get in some other parts of Phuket, and there's plenty of space to spread out. If you enjoy a morning walk along the beach or a swim in the sea, it's a lovely place to spend time. Behind the beach there's a long promenade, and this is where Karon really works well for retirees. It's flat, easy to walk, and lined with restaurants, coffee shops, small bars, supermarkets and convenience stores. You could quite easily spend a day here without ever needing a car. What struck me most was that it never felt frantic. Patong is only about 15 to 20 minutes drive away, so you're close enough if you fancy the shopping or the nightlife. But Karon itself has a much calmer pace. Sitting in a few coffee shops, I noticed plenty of long-term foreign residents, not just holidaymakers. Older couples out for a morning walk, people reading, and others simply enjoying the slower pace of life. There are also plenty of pharmacies, clinics and supermarkets within easy reach, which becomes much more important once you're actually living somewhere rather than just visiting. If you want to be close to the sea without being right in the middle of Phuket's busiest area, this area is worth considering. It's not the cheapest part of Thailand, but as a place to retire, I came away genuinely impressed. Now Qatar, I'll be upfront with you. This became one of my favourite areas during the whole trip. It's just south of Karon and has a different character to it. The beach is smaller, more of a curved bay, and somehow it just feels a little more relaxed. What I really liked about Kata was the balance. You've still got plenty of restaurants and cafes, some genuinely excellent coffee shops, but it doesn't feel as commercial or as intense as Patong. Walking around in the late afternoon, watching people gather for the sunset, I could genuinely picture retirees being very happy here. It's relaxed, but there's still enough going on that it never feels sleepy. If you want even more peace and quiet, Kata Noi is just around the headland, and it's well worth a visit. Now, I don't want to oversell it because it's still a tourist area, and prices definitely reflect that. During the high season it can get pretty busy, so if you're expecting empty beaches all year round, that's probably not the reality. Kata is also a little more compact than Karon. Everything you need is within walking distance. Although the bigger supermarkets or a wider choice of restaurants, you may find yourself heading into Karon or Patong from time to time. But overall, Kata really stood out to me. If Phuket was on my retirement shortlist, this would definitely be one of the areas I'd be looking at first. Right, let's talk about Patong, because this is probably the area most people have heard of when they think about Phuket. Patong is world famous. Bangla Road is one of Thailand's best known nightlife areas, and when you walk around here, you immediately understand why. It's loud, colourful, busy and full of energy. Even during the low season when I visited, there was still a real atmosphere, with people everywhere, restaurants open and plenty going on. The beach is also very different from them other two areas I just showed you. It's much busier, with much more activity, more water sports and a constant stream of people. Personally, I actually enjoy walking around Patong. It reminded me a lot of Pattaya in some ways, just with a much better beach. It has the same feeling of a place where there's always something happening. From a convenience point of view, Patong is hard to beat. You've got shopping centres, restaurants from all over the world, supermarkets, pharmacies, banks, and pretty much everything you need right on the doorstep. But would I personally choose to retire right in the middle of Patong? Probably not. The traffic can be frustrating, especially at busy times, and the atmosphere around Bangla Road at night is much more focused on tourism and nightlife than a quiet retirement lifestyle. For many retirees, that level of energy every night might simply become too much. That said, I can absolutely understand why some people love it. If you enjoy being close to everything, going out for meals, meeting people and having plenty happening around you, Patong could actually work. For me, the sweet spot would probably be living nearby rather than directly in Patong. You could enjoy the restaurant, shopping and atmosphere whenever you wanted, but still come home to somewhere a little calmer. Patong is definitely somewhere I'd recommend visiting because it shows a completely different side of Phuket. It might not be the retirement choice for everyone, but it's a big part of what makes Phuket what it is. I also want to briefly mention Kamala. I didn't spend nearly as much time here as I did in the other places, so I can't give you some detailed review, but from what I saw, Kamala Beach has a much quieter feel. It's just north of Patong, and with an attractive beach, a less developed feel and a growing expat community. I think Kamala could be an interesting option for retirees who want to stay in Phuket but prefer somewhere a little calmer. I just wouldn't want to pretend I explored it enough to give it a full verdict. If Kamala is on your shortlist, I'd spend some proper time here yourself before making that decision. Now let's move on to something more practical that really matters when you're thinking about retirement, and healthcare has to be near the top of that list. This is generally one of Phuket's strongest selling points. The island has several well-regarded private hospitals with clean, modern facilities, English-speaking doctors and staff who are used to dealing with foreign patients. For retirees, that matters enormously. Having confidence that you can walk into a hospital, explain your symptoms clearly in English, and receive a high standard of treatment without a major language barrier is a big deal. Waiting times can also be considerably shorter than what many people are used to back home, and the feedback I heard from expats living here was generally very positive. But private healthcare in Thailand isn't free, and costs have been rising, particularly for serious or ongoing treatment. Comprehensive health insurance is something almost every long-term expat I spoke to considers essential. The other big advantage is accessibility. With hospitals and clinics spread across the island, you're generally never too far from medical care, regardless of which area you choose to live. So when it comes to healthcare, Phuket has a real advantage over many of the quieter and more remote retirement destinations in Thailand. Now let's talk money, because this is probably one of the biggest factors you're weighing up. Phuket is not Thailand's cheapest place to live. Accommodation, particularly close to the beach in areas like Kata, Karon, comes at a premium compared to somewhere like Chiang or Hua Hin. You're paying for the location, and that shows up in the rent. Eating out follows a similar pattern. Local Thai restaurants, particularly away from the main tourist strips, can still be very good value. But start eating in tourist-focused restaurants, especially somewhere with a sea view, and prices can quickly approach what you pay back home. The same applies to coffee. There are some excellent cafes in Phuket, but you're generally paying international prices rather than local Thai prices. Groceries are a mixed picture. Local markets and Thai supermarkets remain affordable, but imported products and Western brands can make your weekly shop look a lot more like what you'd pay back home. Transport is another thing to factor in. Public transport isn't really a strong option here, so most people rely on scooters, cars, or ride-hailing apps. None of these are necessarily expensive on their own, but the costs do add up. So overall, if you're comparing Phuket with somewhere like Hua Hin or Chiang Mai, expect to pay more, particularly if you want to live close to the beach. But there's a big difference between living on a beachfront and living just further inland. Karon and Kata aren't cheap, but moving away from the most touristy areas can make a noticeable difference to your monthly budget without sacrificing too much convenience. You're paying more in Phuket, definitely, but you're also paying for a specific lifestyle and location. This is a question I know a lot of you are genuinely curious about, and the honest answer is yes, probably more easily here than almost anywhere else in Thailand. Phuket has been a major international tourist destination for decades, so English is widely spoken across most of the area I visited. Restaurant staff, hospital staff, and people working in the bigger shopping centres and supermarkets can genuinely communicate in English without much difficulty. That's not to say everyone speaks it fluently, and learning a few basic Thai phrases will always make daily interactions easier and earn you a warmer reception. But for the practical things, ordering food, going to appointments, dealing with everyday errands, Phuket is about as accessible as it gets for English-speaking retirees in Thailand. I want to be fair here and talk honestly about some of the downsides, because no destination is perfect, and Phuket is no exception. The biggest one is the tourism. Even in areas like Karon and Kata that felt calmer than Patong, you're never far from the reality that this is one of the world's most visited islands. During high season, beaches get crowded, restaurants get busy, and the roads can become genuinely frustrating. Traffic is something you need to factor in seriously. Phuket wasn't really designed for the volume of vehicles it has now, and journeys through areas like Patong can take much longer than you expect. And then there's the atmosphere itself. In many of the areas built around tourism, you don't get quite the same traditional Thai feeling you'd find in smaller towns or somewhere like Chiang Mai. At times, Phuket can feel more like an international beach resort than an authentic slice of Thai life. None of these are really deal breakers, and plenty of people live here very happily despite them, but they're worth understanding before making the move here. Based on everything I saw and the people I spoke to, there's a fairly clear picture of who would actually really enjoy retirement in Phuket. If you genuinely love beach life, enjoy walking, eating out, being active, and having international standard facilities and healthcare nearby, Phuket ticks a lot of boxes. Couples in particular seem to do well here. There's an established social expat community in areas like Karon and Kata, and plenty of opportunities to meet people in a similar stage of life. And if you're happy to pay a little more for convenience, international infrastructure, and an easier transition into life in Thailand, the higher cost may feel like a reasonable trade-off. On the other hand, if keeping your retirement costs as low as possible is your priority, Phuket probably isn't your best option. Places like Hua Hin or some of the other smaller towns around Thailand will stretch your money further. And if you want a genuinely quiet, slower pace of life, fewer crowds, and a more traditional Thai atmosphere, you may find Phuket's energy a bit much. There's no right or wrong answer. It really comes down to the kind of retirement you want. So could you retire in Phuket? Having spent proper time here, walking the beaches, sitting in the cafes, and talking to people who've actually made the move, my honest answer is yes, for the right person. Karon impressed me more than I expected it. It offered a nice balance of space, walkability, and a calmer pace while still being close to everything. But Kata was the place that really stood out to me. It had the combination of beautiful beach, a relaxed but not sleepy atmosphere, and enough convenience that you're never far from what you need. I won't pretend Phuket is Thailand's cheapest retirement destination. You're going to pay more here than in other places around Thailand, particularly if you want to be near the beach. But what you get in return is excellent healthcare, beautiful coastline, an easy day-to-day lifestyle, and an international infrastructure that makes settling in considerably easier. Ultimately, Phuket is a big, varied island, and what works brilliantly for one retiree might feel completely wrong for another. So if this sounds like your kind of lifestyle, come and experience it for yourself. Spend some proper time in a few different areas around Phuket and see how it actually feels to live here, not just visit. Because at the end of the day, the best retirement destination isn't the one with the best reviews or the prettiest beaches. It's the one that actually fits the life you want to live. Thanks so much for watching today, and let me know in the comments, would you genuinely consider retiring in Phuket, or would somewhere else in Thailand suit you better? Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you on the next one.